The 90s were a defining and revolutionary decade in the history of America, with the United States standing at the center of global change. From fighting and winning the Gulf War to unleashing a digital revolution that would forever transform the way we live, work, and communicate. It was a decade where the economy surged, technology exploded, and pop culture reshaped minds across the world. America reasserted its dominance, not just militarily, but culturally and economically. It was a time of bold moves, seismic shifts, and unforgettable moments that carved the nation's legacy deeper into history, forever. Let me take you down memory lane. The decade started with George H.W. Bush as president. He had been vice president under Ronald Reagan and took office in 1989. One of the biggest events during his term, the Gulf War in 1990 to 1991. After Iraq invaded Kuwait, the U.S. led a military operation called Desert Storm to push Iraqi forces out. It was a short, high-tech war that made headlines around the world. Despite military success against Iraq, the U.S. economy faced a drastic downturn, which led to a rise in unemployment and public dissatisfaction. And that led to Bush losing his re-election bid in 1992 to Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, a young Democrat from Arkansas, won the presidency with his message of hope and change. His term in office was marked by strong economic growth and transformation. He worked on welfare reform, expanded trade through NAFTA, and signed the 1994 crime bill. Although he brought a great level of reform to America's economy, his tenure was not without controversy. The Monica Lewinsky scandal led to his impeachment in 1998. He was acquitted. But it was a major moment in American political history. If you lived through the 90s, you probably remember it as a time when things felt economically stable. The economy grew quickly, and the stock market was doing well. Part of this boom came from the rise of the internet and new technology companies. This was the era of the dot-com explosion. Companies like Amazon and eBay emerged, while venture capital flooded into online startups. By the end of the 90s, dial-up modems, AOL, and email were seen in almost every American household. Personal computers began appearing in homes and schools, helping Americans learn and work in new ways. The tech revolution changed not only business, but also how people connected with one another. Though the web was slow and cell phones extremely expensive, the rise of chat rooms, early websites, search engines like Google, and the gradual shift from landlines and pagers to mobile devices marked the 1990s as the decade that laid the digital foundation for the 21st century. And when it came to sports, the 90s were nothing short of iconic. The 1990s were a golden era for American sports. Michael Jordan turned basketball into a global spectacle. The Dallas Cowboys dominated the NFL, and Tiger Woods burst onto the golf scene like no one before him. Baseball bounced back from a rough patch with a home run race that reignited fan passion. Meanwhile, the U.S. women's soccer team captured hearts and history with their World Cup win. It was a decade where American athletes didn't just compete, they set the standard. While sports were making headlines, there were also groundbreaking discoveries in science and medicine. The Human Genome Project, aimed to map all the genes in human DNA, was officially launched in 1990. It was a massive effort that changed the medical world forever. Not long after, another scientific milestone grabbed global attention. In 1996, scientists cloned the first mammal, a sheep named Dolly, which sparked a global debate about ethics and the future of science. Meanwhile, health challenges continued to shape public awareness and policy. The AIDS crisis, which had started in the 80s, continued into the 90s. But this time, with more effective treatments. That helped people live longer, healthier lives. Toward the end of the decade, Viagra hit the market, shifting how society talked about aging, intimacy, and wellness. Mental health awareness also grew, though there was still stigma. People started talking more openly about depression, anxiety, and the need for better care. But the 90s weren't all fun and games. The decade also saw some serious and sometimes tragic events. In 1992, the Los Angeles riots broke out. After 4 police officers were acquitted in the beating of Rodney King, the riots lasted for days and left parts of the city in ruins. In 1995, the Oklahoma City bombing shocked the country. Timothy McVeigh bombed a federal building, killing 168 people in one of the deadliest acts of domestic terrorism in U.S. history. The O.J. Simpson trial, in 1994 to 1995, became a national obsession. Millions watched the courtroom drama unfold, live on TV. The case raised deep questions about race, celebrity, and the justice system. And near the end of the decade, the Columbine High School shooting in 1999 marked the beginning of a tragic era of school violence in America. It was a wake-up call that shocked the nation and led to intense debates about guns, bullying, and youth culture. The 1990s were more than just a collection of headlines, breakthroughs, and innovations. They were a turning point, a decade that tested America's strength, celebrated its innovation, and exposed its deepest challenges. So whether you lived through it or are just discovering it, one thing is clear. The 1990s didn't just change America, they prepared it for everything that came next.